Um, just we'll go to the chat box here for another couple of questions. Robbo, his polar beat has been talking about overreaching and overtraining. He wants to know what the difference between those are. Who would like to answer that?
I can share some. I don't mind.
Go.
All right. I'll kick it off and then Will can carry on. I think there's a massive difference in trying to achieve a goal of sorts. There are going to be often moments where you need to overreach, and this is very different to overtraining, right? You need to kind of also understand there are clear signs to overtraining, whether there are telltale signs like massive hunger or not wanting to eat at all, or some of them. That I know there's two very kind of extremes. Massively restless sleep, and a big thing with overtraining is that you're getting diminishing returns for what you're doing in the gym, and you actually get weaker, slower. Then it's like, well, what's the point? In a training program, there are going to be moments where you need to overreach every now and then to just kind of push the needle, right? And then potentially follow that up with a couple of days of recovery, or just lighter something, lighter load, or just reduce the intensity. But that's kind of my understanding, is like there's a significant difference between the two. Paul can carry on a bit.
Yeah. Just like Dylan said, it's positive and negative. Overreaching is needed to adapt in certain contexts. Overtraining is negative return. So that would mean that the way you'd measure that is that your scores are going down, whether that's metrically, so you're looking at your blood pressure, HRV, or whether it's from the performance in the gym. Also, one that where a lot of our clients would find is that overtraining can be seen through physiology. So in the respect of basically getting fatter or not losing any body weight, whether they keep cutting food and adding more training, and they seem to be putting on weight. That's usually that's to do with metabolism, but that's also a sign that you're doing too much. But overreaching is more of a positive context. That's towards actual getting to a certain plateau, hanging about there, then pushing on again. Whereas overtraining is staying there and declining on whatever metric you're on a polar. What should that be based around? How your heart rate is through a session mainly. But we as coaches, we look at it from your numbers. From an example, obviously I coach you. I would look at your squat. If you've got to a point on your squat and you're not able to push anymore and you're starting to either break down or get worse, that means you're overreaching. Something's going wrong. Overtraining. Overreaching would mean you'd get you to a point and then give you a deload. That's how you'd work on a strength profile, for example.
Sweet. I reckon we'll move on to mental health. Something that's pretty close to my heart anyways. It's something it's a topic I could talk all day about. I guess I'd go on a different angle of this. I guess want to know if any of you guys have any experiences, whether it be with yourself or with someone you know. So I guess like maybe talking about a hardship, a highlight, and a hero. So just taking your storytelling skills to the next level here. We'll start with you, Greg. No pressure, mate.
Yeah, this is the one I was thinking about all day. I like maybe it's just me, and that I feel very privileged and lucky that I don't think my upbringing has provided me with too much hardships in my life. I was lucky to have a good education and always have a nice roof over my head and stuff like that. But I think probably moving abroad to Singapore even for me was probably the biggest jump I've made in my life, and in a sense of completely leaving everything I'd known behind. Coming over here with essentially no friends, not knowing anybody out here really either. Just taking a big plunge. It was probably a big risk as well for me. And then on top of that, a friend of mine did come out, and we had moved into an apartment together, and sadly one of their parents committed suicide. So they ended up flying home, and I was left in the apartment on my own. So definitely probably affected me for about a month, but managed to to get over that and throw yourself into work, and got a lovely new roommate in who subsequently became my girlfriend. So I suppose that might be a highlight that comes out of that. So
my man,
swings and roundabouts and all that.
so she's
Highlight
still
and hero.
highlight and a hero, I suppose. So I suppose, look, that's where I think maybe positives will come from negatives and swings and roundabouts, like I said. But yeah, that's probably a hardship and a highlight for me. From a hero perspective, I thought about this one as well, and like, again, without being too cliched, I think my biggest hero growing up was Steven Gerrard. Like, everything I did was about Steven Gerrard, and like whatever Steven Gerrard did, I would do. But I think as you then kind of grow older and you expose yourself to things like mental health, all these things are going to change, especially when you start to become a professional. So, my dad is always someone I've looked up to, but again, some of my best friends, I would probably think are heroes. Friends whose parents have gone through, rough divorces and, bad breakups, and seeing what my friends have been able to achieve with their lives, and how successful that they've been, and especially being over here and them being able to connect with me still. And I always still feel so close to them after, 3 years away from home. So that would be probably a bit of a shout out to friends and family as well, which I think again are massively important when you're talking about mental health.
Nice, mate. Thanks for sharing that, Greg. Brilliant. How about you, Will?
My main hardship was being in a poisonous relationship. People wouldn't know me. I was engaged before. Some of my first professional rugby contracts, I was in a bad relationship. She was getting attacked by a horse, and I intervened, and I ended up having my leg snapped in half 8 weeks into my first pre-season. So I think that's probably the hardest point of my life. But I think, like, from a mental health standpoint, that literally made me who I am now. So it sounds really perverse, but I'm quite grateful that did happen. Not at the time, that fucking hurt, excuse my French, but that moment of I was in a really bad space, and I didn't have the ability to understand and move myself around it. And it took something physical that literally nearly stopped me playing rugby again, for me to break out of that habit. And it made me become a lot more aggressive on looking after myself. And I coach this to a lot of my clients, is they don't look after themselves, they look after everybody else. And I think from a mental health standpoint, if you're not sorting your shit out before everybody else, you're not ready for the day. And that's one thing that I, from a mental standpoint, and what I lead by is that I have to know that I'm in control. And that doesn't mean I've got to be in control of a situation, because you're not, but I have to know that I can control my own variables. So I get up in the morning, like Phil says, I have my stuff written down so I can do my jobs. I can periodize my days, try and be as productive as possible. But it all stemmed from, I lost my house, my car, money, slept on a floor in Doncaster, if anybody knows Doncaster. Which is
lovely.
It's a lovely setup. I was on a mattress with just me and my dog. I had to leave 7 dogs, and I picked my favourite, she's my kid. But that was the best thing that ever happened to me. And as I said, I was lucky that I got through it, and I played again, and blah blah blah, and now I'm here. And then hero-wise, it all stems from my old man. He moved to London with 50 quid, and he made it happen. And he's like, he's done some big stuff. He's in advertising. He's a creative and artistic. He's very different to me, but his mannerism of, put it this way, he lost his job and went and bought a new car when I was born. And my mum flipped at him, and he's like, "Well, I've got to fucking pay for it now, so that's it. I'm doing it." And it's that mentality of like, I've had that since I was a kid, so I'm very lucky to have had that in my life. So yeah, they're sort of my 3, I would say.
You're quite artistic.
Now I've got glasses on, mate. I reckon I'm quite artistic, boss.
Lovely.
Well, thanks for sharing that, mate. That's awesome. What about you, Dill?
Hey, mate, mine's pretty much sport related. Obviously, been an athlete for a good couple of years now, and kind of I think I solidified my identity as being an athlete, which is a massive mistake on my part. And I think a lot of semi-professional sportsmen do this, and kind of got injured quite badly, wrecked my lower back really badly, and yeah, it was in those dark days. Couldn't lay in bed for kind of almost 2 weeks. Didn't get out of bed, and it was a kind of a quite a wake up call, going from like doing whatever I wanted to do, feeling absolutely amazing, top of the world, to pretty humbled, lying in bed and just not being able to even lift your legs up or get out of bed, whatever it might be. And yeah, I think that was tough, man. That was some really dark days, but kind of came out of that, and got to work with some amazing people. And the highlights of it is kind of came back and competed again, and kind of it's such a bro thing to say, but PB'd all my lifts, and I think training became so much more, physical exercise, and being in the gym was just a real sanctuary for me eventually. Kind of eventually got to run and own my own gym, which is amazing experience, 4 years. So that was the highlight, I think, and then realized in running and owning a gym and having an impact on people, and trying to empower people, especially those that have had serious injuries, kind of serious back injuries. I think I like to tend to lean towards that. I think there's a lot of hope. And yeah, my hero at the moment is not to be cliche, but it changes, I think, every kind of couple of years, but Cleese, for obvious reasons. If you guys know his story, he came from not the absolute worst. If you've been to South Africa, and if you've seen what true poverty looks like, he was right at the bottom, man, and just so motivating to see where he came from. And never mind the rugby, I think what he did just to bring a nation together at such a pivotal point as well was exponential, man. So those are my three. And go Boca, go. Oh, for God's sake.
Well, sorry about him.
Don't talk to him.
Thanks for that, mate. I love seeing Cleese as well. Unbelievable athlete, and very inspiring man. What about you, Fred, mate?
Well, when you asked this question, I was like, oh, perfect timing. I'm reading this book at the moment. I think some of you have probably read it before. I was chatting to, if you can't see it, it's That Subtle Art of Not Giving an F by Mark Manson. I think some of the core messaging of that book is that, like, hardship is relative to you. Like Greg said, I haven't had particular hardships versus others. But essentially, it's you've only had your experiences, so they're relative to you. So everyone's had hardship in their life. Everyone has a choice as how they deal with it. You can either play victim, or you can take action. So problem solving, I guess, has always given me a great deal of fulfillment. But if you think about it, really, that's what life's about. So we always have new problems, but you can view them as a blocker or a challenge to overcome. I suppose we're all in that situation at the moment with COVID. So from an example, I think I had about 12 operators, mine sport related as well, shock. But I think I had 12 operations during my rugby career. And it always seemed to be just as I was about to, had a bit of momentum, had strung a load of games together. Maybe I had a good deal on the table with another club, and it looked like it was, going to be onto the next thing. And then I'd get another injury, another big operation. And then I retired in 2014 with my knee. And I think just every single time that happened, you just had to break it down into small little challenges, whether it was just getting an increase in the amount of flexion you got in your knee with the brace, and just what challenge are you going to set yourself that week, what challenges the physio going to set, just putting those small goals in front of you and enjoying the process, the pain that you'd go through, and then the reward that you got on top of that, because you just don't, without that adversity, you don't get that sense of reward. So I guess I'm although it was very frustrating at the time, in hindsight, I'm just very grateful for all of that, because it sort of ignited the fire to learn about all of the stuff that I've become interested in as a trainer. So all of the movement mechanics and underlying things that I like to look at with all of my clients, it completely ignited that sort of fire, because it allows me to try and solve problems that I can see in myself or clients. So yeah, I guess that's my example. And then with regard to a hero, I watched the Richie McCaw documentary not that long ago. But he was always someone that, you know, you would sort of idolise at the top of the game in rugby. I think he represents sort of that tenacity and adversity. Like when the All Blacks had it all physically, they just couldn't still win a World Cup, and he massively came under fire at that point in time. You know, because of how the New Zealand press are, they're absolutely brutal. And it takes quite a lot to weather that storm, but he just went and found something else. I know he went to visit like a psychiatrist, and thought, right, well, it must just be the physical edge, the psychological edge. And then they went and addressed that, and then he was in a situation, however many years it was down the line at the World Cups that he played in, and was able to draw upon that and not let the outcome affect how he was behaving in that current situation, without letting it fluster him, etc. So he's been a big change in the way that I sort of thought as well.
Nice. That's awesome, mate. And how about you, Phil, mate?
I'm going to write a book. You'll have to wait for that. Life Through the Fly's Eyes. I've already got the title. I won't go into the hardship shit, but like, are you like at the moment? This year is 20 years ago since I joined the army. So like the boys are getting back together about having a reunion and all that kind of shit. So it's kind of really brought some cool as fuck memories back. And I don't want to say there was hardship or nothing like that, but there's so many things that you kind of learn from experiences, and you just take it for granted. And like you can't. For me, it's not about living with the past, but using the mistakes or learning from what's happened and sort of progressing from it, and not making it happen again or letting it happen again. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's, you know, I had some good fun, and it's about getting on with it, adapting and overcoming basically. And I think you know, the current situation in the climate and what have you right now is everyone's just got to get on with it, just get it done. Put yourself out there, push yourself, and you know, you don't have to go balls to the wall all the time. You know, like I was taking the piss out of like the 4:30 a.m. starters the other day on my Instagram. I mean, like, if you're down with that, that's cool. If you're not, don't worry about it. Just be productive in the time that you're up, you know. And I, you know, a good soldier sleeps when he can. This is my first example of like a first real lesson. Like, get your head down when you can, rest when you can, take advantage of it, power yourself up, and fucking move on again. That's my biggest thing I would say there. Hero is just a mentor of mine, a very, very good friend of mine now. Yeah. And that's it, mate. What about yourself, Owen?
Me, I was actually homeless when I was younger. When I was in my teens, a teacher actually gave me a shot, made me captain of the first team at school rugby at a very young age, and that sort of spurred me on to work hard. He said he'd keep me in the rugby team if I kept at school, and yeah, ended up going to uni and getting it with a decent club, got a scholarship, and yeah, I suffered a lot with depression and anxiety going through. Just the reason why I was homeless was because my mum left, and yeah, it was quite a difficult time. Just all that uncertainty in my life, and just I'm sort of a person that craves stability, and just having so much uncertain stuff just caused a lot of anxiety and depression. And I remember a club doctor put me onto like antidepressants and things like that, and it was a bit of a whirlwind. hero was definitely that teacher, and still to this day we speak pretty much every single day. He's still trying to still motivates me, still pushes me. But at the time when all that stuff happened, he was just fresh out of university, and he actually first became aware of me being homeless by breaking up a fight that I'd gotten into, and I started crying, and he asked me what was going on. And this was his first ever teaching job, probably about 6 weeks into his first ever teaching job. And an opportunity came up. It was emailed to the school about doing a student exchange in France on a rugby exchange thing. And he used his first paycheck to send me to France to go and do this rugby thing. And then just with that, the amount of leverage he had on me to sort of go on and do something with my life was huge. I felt like I owed it to him to turn up to every rugby training session, to turn up to school every day on time, and get organised for a family to look after me and stuff like that. And so yeah, motivated me a lot, pushed me hard, and that's my hero, and that's a little bit about me, I guess, with my my story. So yeah, we've shared a bit, eh?
Man,
Deep.
Intense, boss.
Deep.
Respect.
So yeah.
So that goes.
Cool.
I mean, like even blokes, you know, like the whole idea of that sort of finding out, but hardship was like every bloke sort of bottles a lot of stuff up, I guess, right? And you know, without going too deep and emotional into it, but like just chatting it out and you know, speaking to a mate or what have you. It was Mental Health Awareness Week last week. You know, like yeah, I know, Fred, you did a bit of a campaign recently as well.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it's critical that the guys sort of open up a little bit more. And I think we're coming out of that old school sort of mentality a little bit now. You know, like our dad's sort of mentality, keep it stum, and you know, we are considered millennials, I guess, us top row here. But like, yeah, just go and speak to someone. Like, there's no point in holding on to that shit. Right?
Mm.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. Boom.
Cheers, guys. Thanks very much.
It's over
for
an
having
hour,
us.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Hey, guys.
yeah.
We'll
Cheers, fellas. Very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Thanks for jumping on board. Really appreciate that. We'll sort of tidy it up there. If guys, if you have any questions or anything like that, we'll sort of post everyone's social handles and what have you, so you can sort of reach out to the relative coach or appropriate coach you want to ask questions or get some insight from or what have you. Thank you for UFIT for hosting us. You've been listening to the For the Love of Health podcast with myself, Owen. You can listen to previous shows on Apple and Spotify. Yeah, going forwards, you can also listen to other stuff going deeper into subjects we might have come across this evening. Guys, stay safe out there and keep it real.
Cheers, guys. Doug, you look like you've had the best